Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to I'm sorry. Actually, welcome to Starbucks. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, what's up?
What's going on? Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. I just realized a little bit ago while I was getting ready for this.
What's that?
This is our last Starbucks of the year.
You're right. It is. Okay, so 2 straight years, you've done that dumb, terrible joke. You're not going to do it again, are you? You are.
I don't know
Just don't do it
I don't
this
know
year.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll see you next year. All right. But yeah, I guess that's true because with the holidays, Christmas and New Year's coming up and all that.
Yeah, Christmas next Monday, and then following Monday will be January 1st. So, I don't know about you, but I'm probably not going to get up at 7 a.m. on January 1st. We'll probably still have a show, but it might be later in the day.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, we might not because, but then
Or
again,
we might not.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I remember doing an emergency podcast with Tyler to break down the Josh Bell trade. You know how Ben Cherington loves to operate. So be careful of your words, Jim. It might not be the last one of the year. We might be breaking down. I don't know.
Did you see this? Nicholas is watching us this morning from Germany.
How's it going,
good morning.
Nicholas?
Good morning, Nicholas. I don't know if it's still morning over there in Germany. It's probably,
I feel like it's probably like 1 o'clock
by now. Yeah.
There's a ghost behind you, by the way.
I just saw that.
Your door just randomly opens up. But yeah, well, I guess, it could be, it could not be our last show of the year. But with that said, it certainly is a show to talk about today. Not a whole lot. I guess I can put it this way. We've kind of talked about the news that's happened this week as it's progressed. There's been like quite a bit that's happened so far.
We had an emergency podcast for Edward Olivares. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
this is how starved we are for just stuff to happen, that acquiring a short side platoon, third or fourth outfield, fourth outfielder, however you want to say it. That's where we're at right now. That requires emergency podcasts.
It does, though. It does.
Yeah.
Because, hey, at least he's an MLB player. Like, it's not Billy McKinney.
That's true.
It is a major league caliber player. So there's that. But no, for real. The thing is, this offseason, we've been kind of pessimistic as it is because it's to us, it's kind of been like a do or die offseason for Ben Cherington, and this organization, because like you've built this club up to this point, and because of the rash of injuries now, like you have to really step up. You have to supplement those plus what you're missing, right? And so far, not much has happened. What's going on here, Jim?
I don't know. We're just huge in Europe. Jamie, good morning from England.
Can one of you tell us what time it is? I want to say it's 1 o'clock.
I don't think it's the same time in England as it is in Germany. I bet they're in different time zones too.
I say noon. Either way. But yeah, like that's why I've been, like I want to say hard on this offseason, but like you've been hyper focused on it because of, again, like how important it is. And so far, not a whole lot has happened, right? You made the trade with Marco Gonzalez. They did add and sign Rowdy Tellez for $3.2 million. And now there was a trade with the Royals, right? And like so far, again, like we talk about all those moves and like in a vacuum for what they were for, like the cost that it took to acquire them, they're fine. But like, has his team truly improved since the offseason began? And that's where we question it. So, Jim, like, where do you want to start so far with the landscape of the Pirates offseason?
I think I want to start, like, it's still early, right? Like, it's December 18th. There's still really 2 more full months to get stuff done, like before players start reporting to spring training. So I want to preface it by saying that at the same time, though, someone mentioned it on Twitter. I forget who it was, but it was, I was complaining about the Royals signing all these people, and they mentioned that, the Pirates have some holes to fix right now. And what's crazy is that the available market right now, like the players who make a perfect sense for the Pirates to go out and acquire, are all players that like fit those holes perfectly. Like
Right.
that's just the frustrating part right now, is that we can go out there and we can see the available players that would immediately make the Pirates better. And we're seeing other teams going out and making these moves. We're seeing the Royals spending over $100 million in free agency just last week alone. And the Pirates, their only move has been a first baseman who, they just acquired another what if. Like we keep talking about the what ifs, right? Like Rowdy
Right.
Tellez is they just got another what if. What if Rowdy Tellez can improve upon his 2023, and what if he can go back to his 2022 form? They acquired a what if. They're pitching. They acquired a what if, right? Like what if Marco Gonzalez is healthy and can regain his form from 2 years ago? So these are the moves that they've been making so far, and there's nothing wrong with like the Marco Gonzalez trade. I said at the time, like I'm good with that trade. Like I like Marco Gonzalez. I think he's a guy that the Pirates should be acquiring, right? But they also need to get some more guys. And I think that's just the frustrating part for me, is you can look at the available free agents, or you can look at the guys who were signed last week and just say, man, those guys would fit perfect here.
Right.
And we haven't seen anything yet.
And I think like that's where you rationalize this and say, like, I can understand, right? Like we keep preferencing. We have to start off every conversation with, I understand it's early in the offseason. But Jim, like again, like every time you see one of these guys sign, it's just not so early anymore. And that's the problem. It's not as if, like, granted, Nola did sign, right? Like it's not as if like the top tiers are falling off the board and we're crying. Oh my God, they didn't get Ohtani. Oh my God, they didn't get Aaron Nola. Oh my God, they didn't get Sonny Gray. Like that's not so much the problem. We might talk like there's still a possibility those could have happened for the Pirates, right? But like that's not even what's bothering us. It's because you're seeing the Seth Lugos gone, Jack Flaherty's gone, Michael Wacha's gone. It's like you're saying, it's all the next tier, not even the next tier, it's like the third tier. Some of these guys that just keep falling off and keep falling off. And again, like that crop's just narrowing down. Like the Pirates' options are getting smaller and smaller. And again, we're not talking about one guy they need to sign. We're not even talking about two guys that need to add, right? Like they need to probably add about three guys this offseason on top of Marco Gonzalez, because Marco Gonzalez is a what if.
Right. And again, they're not losing out on these guys to like huge, big market teams either. Like
Right.
Seth Lugo signed a 3-year deal with the Royals. Michael Wacha, 2-year deal with the Royals. Eduardo Rodriguez, 3-year deal with the Diamondbacks. Like these are all teams that the Pirates should 4-year deal with Diamondbacks. These are all teams that the Pirates should theoretically be able to compete with when it comes to free agency. And again, like I preface this by saying, like, there's still time. Like the Pirates could go out there and get Marcus Stroman today, right? Like he's available and he's well within their price range and he would fit a hole. And yeah, but they haven't been tied to him in any way. We haven't heard anything about the Pirates being rumored to any of these guys. The only thing that we heard was that Jack Flaherty rumor back in Nashville in winter meetings. Right. And guess what? Jack Flaherty, he's gone. He signed with the Detroit Tigers, another team that the Pirates should be able to compete with, who also signed Kenta Maeda, right? So like that's just kind of where I'm at right now. It's like you've got all these teams that are in a similar situation to the Pirates, and they're all addressing their holes, and the Pirates are just kind of sitting there waiting right now.
And going back to the Jack Flaherty thing, the thing that blew up Twitter on in the aspect was the verbiage of it, right? Which he cleared it up for us when we talked to him in the winter meetings. It's not so much like the Pirates are like, if no one else wants you, come back to us. I'm like, although it is to a degree, but it's like, if you're at a 1-year deal, let's talk. Because that's really all they wanted to go with. And what does Jack Flaherty do? Sign a 1-year deal with the Tigers. So it wasn't as if it was like, okay, they gave him 2. They had the parameters met. So again, obviously it was the money part. And it was 1 year, $14 million, I believe, top of my head, to the Tigers.
For Flaherty, yep.
So again, they got Kenta Maeda. They got Jack Flaherty. Now Detroit has spent. Okay, like that's not a question. It's not as if it's like, oh, the poor Tigers. They have spent money. They've had a payroll of $200 million before. But this is also a very bad team. So for the people that are talking in both sense of, well, you have to understand the Pirates don't have all this money and they got to be cheap. But also, well, the Pirates aren't good and free agents aren't attracted to come to Pittsburgh. And what the hell so attractive about Detroit? What is so attractive about Kansas City? And I'm not even talking about just the area, but I'm talking about the baseball team itself. Like, what makes Kansas City such an attractive place for a free agent to go? You know what? Oh, let me go to Kansas City. Let me win some rings, baby. Like what's different from Pittsburgh? There shouldn't be any reason that Pittsburgh's missing out on free agents because of Detroit or Kansas City. So like, don't give me that. Don't give me that.
Kansas City's got pretty good barbecue, but yeah, there's not really anything that the Royals can offer you that the Pirates can't.
And that's where I'm at. Again, we're talking about a 106 loss team. That's why I keep bringing this up. This isn't a team that was just on the cusp. And it's like, you know what? Me, Michael Wacha, by me being added to the Royals, we're there. Let me create that missing link and take off. That's not what's happening. There's not one thing that the Royals can offer that the Pirates can't. They're just simply doing it. They're offering what's called money.
Yeah. Like I said, it's you got to give the Royals some credit for what they've done. When you've got a superstar like that in Bobby Witt Jr. and you're paying him, under $1 million a year, you're kind of stupid not to go for it, right? Because it's like you've got this MVP caliber dude. You're not paying him anything. Like, just surround him with a little bit of talent and see what happens. And it seems like that's kind of the route that they're going to go this year.
Mm-hmm.
But so kudos to them. Royals fans desperately need a good team. I know a lot of Royals fans, they've been very down in the dumps lately. They did get a World Series a few years back, so they at least have that to look back on. But
Yes,
yeah,
they
they've been really, really bad lately. And they're doing the things they need to do this offseason to address that. So in that American League Central, it's wide open. That's why you see Detroit making these moves too. That's why you see Minnesota making some moves. Minnesota seems to be kind of unloading a little bit of salary right now,
right.
but they're still looking to fill in some holes. But the NL Central is in the same boat. Like, that NL Central is totally up for grabs right now. And you're seeing the Cardinals have made a bunch of moves this year. The Reds have made a bunch of moves. Cubs, Brewers, Pirates kind of all just sort of sitting there right now. Which, yeah, you'd think it'd be a little bit different, because all 5 teams in the NL Central realistically have a shot this year. Like, no one right now is a clear-cut favorite.
Right. For sure. I want to go back to the Royals a little bit too, also. Because, like, again, this is why I bring them up quite a bit. And it's not because you mentioned it, like, they've been bad for a while. It's not because, like, hey, Pirates, you need to emulate this rebuild. Like, their rebuild has been terrible. We've acknowledged that before as well. Also, the Tigers, terrible. Just absolutely terrible. That's what, like, you fear for the Pirates of going that route with this rebuild, right? Not saying they're there. I doubt the Pirates are anywhere near, as much as we harp on the Pirates in the rebuild. I don't foresee a Kansas City type or Detroit type of rebuild happening. But regardless, the reason I bring this up is, let's not talk about the past. Let's talk about the current, present, and future. Like, what the Royals are doing right now is essentially everything that we asked that the Pirates should have been doing last year. And again, like, think about this now. Think about what the Royals are doing right now. They're adding Seth Lugo, 3 years, Wacha, 2 years. Like, those are good players, but they're also here for the future. What if the Pirates would have added a multi-year pitcher last year instead of Rich Hill? And again, like, we didn't mind the Rich Hill. That was the bare minimum. At least they did that part. But, like, a couple things. For one, maybe they're not in the position they are today, right? Like, maybe they're just simply not in this position they are today. Number two, with them being better this year because they have better talent because they were here from last year and this year, maybe that is more attractive free agents. Like, so the Royals, like, that's what I'm getting at. The Royals are they might not sit here and line up and be a playoff team this year. They're going to try, they're going to attempt it. But you know what? that puts them in a much better position next year. Well, that AL Central is still very weak. And like that's what the frustrating part is when you look at other organizations and they see basically what you've been seeing and saying. Like that's a weak division. They're not there yet. Invest a little bit. Put yourself there, find out. But if not, you're still set up for the future. The Pirates could have been in a much better situation this year had they done something like that last year.
Well, I mean, just look at the pitching rotation, right? If you would have signed a couple pitchers to a multi-year deal, you wouldn't have to go out there and get so many guys. No, I actually, I mean, I think it was Ethan Fisher who outlined it. It was either yesterday or Saturday on Twitter.
Saturday.
If you haven't checked it out, look at it. But
Pretty
he
informative
went
stuff.
through, and the Pirates haven't signed a multi-year free agent since Ivan Nova.
Yeah, 2016.
2016. That's a long time ago. It's almost like I just mentioned at the beginning of the show, like it's almost 2024. It's almost 8 years ago when this happened. Is the last time the Pirates just committed dollars to somebody who wasn't already in the organization. They committed dollars to them past 1 year. And I'm not going to say that like you can't make stuff happen with 1 year deals, like because you can, right? You just got to be super savvy and smart and have really a good core around those guys. But I mean, you look at how the Pirates have performed since 2016. They haven't brought in any multi-year deals. You know why? Like players sign 1 year deals? It's because they're not that good. If
Right.
you're good, you sign a multi-year deal. So when the Pirates are going out there and signing these 1 year deals, 1 year deals, 1 year deals, there's always going to be something wrong with that player. No, just good player signs a 1 year deal. Like it doesn't happen. Good players sign multi-year deals. So when all you're doing is stacking up these 1 year deals on guys, you're signing flawed players, and we've seen the results of that over the last 6-7 years.
And you know what? Just kind of take what you're saying too, because you're absolutely correct. But it's also not for like there are some times you feel like I'm getting a good player in a 1 year deal. And that's someone who maybe is coming off an injury or down year, wants to reestablish himself to capitalize on that major contract coming up. And like it's not even those guys. And I'm not trying to go with like I'm not trying to harp on them, but like a Cody Bellinger would be like a perfect example. Not that like I was on board, they had to get Cody Bellinger last year, but like that type of a player, that type where it's like, you know what? I feel like we can get some value out of here. Let's give you a 1 year deal because we know it's going to be one and done. Go make your bread. Like go get your contract, play for us, reestablish your value, and take off. It's not even those guys. It's the guys that just aren't good. I don't know how to put it.
Not
You know,
good.
like
Yeah.
just I guess the closest to that might have been like Tyler Anderson because it was just like you're coming from Colorado. We see the underlying numbers. Like you're probably a good pitcher. Let's get you on this 1 year deal and you can do something with it. And he did. That's probably the closest to that type of player.
Yeah, and Quintana was kind of a similar situation. I mean, Quintana was coming off,
but
just
he's
a
been bad for a
year.
while.
Like he had been bad. But I mean, you go back to Bellinger, and this is kind of just going on a different tangent, and it's like what I mentioned before, where there's so many guys out there that just they would fit perfectly on this team, right? And like, I'm not saying the Pirates need to go out there and acquire Cody Bellinger, but the fact that they're probably not even trying is a problem because Cody Bellinger is someone that every single major league team should be able to afford. He's probably going to make 20, 21, 22, $23 million a year. He's going to sign a decent length contract. Like he's probably going to sign like a 10-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's going to sign something over $200 million. But like, he fits perfect on this team. He can play first base. He can play center field. Two positions that you could you could desperately use some help at. Lefty bat, so he could hit a bunch of homers at that ball. Like he's a perfect fit. And I keep seeing, and like I'm not gonna call anybody out, but like there's people who say that like Cody Bellinger is just like he shouldn't even be a target. Like why are we even talking about Cody Bellinger? The Pirates payroll right now is sitting at about $55 million. You add Cody Bellinger, say you overpay and you pay him $25 million a year, you're still at $80 million of payroll. Like, and that's now. Like, obviously, payroll is going to increase over time, but guess what? Revenues increase over time too. Like, you can't just never even put yourself in a position to sign one of these like marquee free agents because they're available. This guy's a perfect fit for you. And it's frustrating because I know that Cody Bellinger isn't on the Pirates' radar whatsoever, but like he should be. And if you think that paying Cody Bellinger $25 million when he's 37 years old is like so terrible that like it's going to fold the franchise because of how bad of a deal it's going to be,
Right.
like it's just it's not correct. The Reds, like I just kind of go back to the Reds here. The Reds paid 37, 38, 39-year-old Joey Votto $25 million a year. And guess what? They had winning seasons. In 3 out of the last 4 years, they were paying Joey Votto $100 million to be 36 or older. Like,
Right.
that's what they did. So, like, don't tell me that these contracts when dudes are 37, 38, like, don't tell me that, like, they're franchise crippling type deals because they're not. Like, they're just not.
You're correct. I just want to point out something too, like going on that route, something that we miss, right? And it's kind of like to the Kansas City Royals aspect of things, again, to kind of tie us in, but I'm going to bring up another team and player. But the Pirates are still in the stage where they have to overpay for free agents to come, right? And okay, well, you did that to yourself, right? Like, again, like, it's another self-inflicted wound. You did this to yourself. You put yourself in this position. But when is it going to be time to invest in that team? Like sometimes maybe you just have to overpay to do what you need to do. And I referenced this before, the Jason Worth contract. Like there was a time where no one wanted to go to the Nationals either. Nobody wanted to go there. It was a terrible organization, right? They were awful. And then Jason Worth signed a deal and everyone made fun of it because, oh my God, I can't believe the Nationals overpaid for this player. Well, what happened? The culture changed. He was productive. He added value. The culture changed. And look what they did. Now, I get it too. Like they had some good draft picks to help, right? But things changed. That's what they had to do. They knew what they needed to do. They wanted that player. That's who we focused on. Get him in. What's it cost? Let's also think about this aspect. That was $126. I'm sorry, $126 million. Does anyone flinch at $126 million right now? Like that was the contract that, oh my God. So again, talking about the value of money in the future too, like this $200 million contract we're talking about in 10 years, are we going to look at like Jason Worth? Like it was only $126 million, right? It was only $200 million. Like that's what they're crying over. So again, like I understand part of that, but like you're talking about revenues going up. Like, yeah, like look how much has gone up every year right now. I mean, are we even talking about the Pirates in 10 years? Like they're still the only team that hasn't hit $200 million in their payroll. You know what I mean? So like that's something to think about also. I understand like right now looking at $200 million is like, wow. But in 10 years from now, it's just $200 million. And to your point, they absolutely could because now their payroll's at 80 this year.
Yeah, I said it's just frustrating. And we've got a comment here on Twitter. It says, Pirates put an internal value on
And
a
I
player
agree.
and will not budge from that number. And I agree with that. Like, there's got to be something out there because this isn't just like a one front office deal. Like, this has been over multiple front offices going back to really like let's talk about before Huntington, like Dave Littlefield days. The fact that the Pirates haven't given a free agent over $13 million ever. Like this is 2023. That's like the average salary in Major League Baseball, and the Pirates just have like never done it.
Right.
Like, so I agree. There's probably some sort of internal figure. I don't know if Bob Nutting is straight up like you can't pay somebody more than $15 million a year, or you can't commit more than $40 million to anybody because they've also never done that before. They've
39's the top.
They've never committed $40 million total to a free agent ever. The Reds just did that to Seth Lugo. The Diamondbacks just did that to Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Like, so these are just average contracts in Major League Baseball that the Pirates have never done in their existence.
The closest they got to it was, again, what you're mentioning, Liriano, 3 years, 39. And there's a guy they are already familiar with. That was the cost, and they brought him back to much surprise. And again, as we're talking about, a 3-year, $39 million contract made Pirates go, oh my, they did it.
Yeah. And that was 9 years ago.
Right. And then 3-year was a 27 for Nova. And it was like, oh, they did it again. But that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
Last time a multi-year deal was given out. And again, $27 million we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just frustrating because like there's like I said, going back to the beginning here, there's just so many guys. You look at this board and it just fits up perfectly for the Pirates. Like there are two starting pitchers here. There are 3 starting pitchers here that you could have just went out and gotten. There is depending on which route you want to go. Now that you've got Olivares, like I said, you've got a couple options. You can go out there and find an everyday center fielder, and then you can platoon Olivares and Sawinski in right field. You can go out there and just say, hey, Sawinski's my everyday center fielder, and then find a lefty bat to platoon with Olivares and right. Like there are options there to do. And we were talking in the group chat last night, like Jock Peterson, right? A Jock Peterson, Edward Olivares right field platoon right now looks real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Looks real nice. Like those are 2 guys, ton of power. Olivares mashes lefties, Jock Peterson mashes righties. They would fit perfect in PNC Park together. Like that's 30 homers right there out of your right field spot, right? And Jock Peterson's going to cost you what, $9 million a year. Probably got to give him 2 years though,
And
so
that's like, again, like the crazy thing. We're talking about the Pirates giving out $9 million for a platoon guy. It just seems absurd. I mean, you're correct. You're correct. But like that's where we're at. $9 million just seems absurd to bring that type of player in. Even though when you total it and you're looking at like basically a $10 million player by putting the 2 together, and you're probably getting an over 2 WAR player, that's value. If you're talking about dollars, I mean, about $8 million per WAR still. Like that hasn't really budged over the past decade for some reason. That's you're getting value. You're getting your money back by doing that. And that just seems as if they're still like, no, we have to be even. We got to get more value. That's not enough.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I don't know, man. I don't know. But
let's talk about something more positive. How about
good.
Yeah. How about so over the weekend, Friday, Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said that Pirates McCutchen were very close to signing a deal. He expects something at the beginning of this week. Yesterday, Bob Nightingale of the USA Today, who, you got to take everything Bob Nightingale says with a grain of salt. But I will say this, like he's kind of redeemed himself the past couple weeks, especially with this Ohtani stuff, right?
True.
He also reports McCutchen deal is imminent by the beginning of the week, somewhere in the range of $5 million a year for a 1-year contract. So it is Monday morning at 7:36 a.m. right now. No Andrew McCutchen announcement has happened as of yet, but it does look like, within the matter of maybe hours, maybe days, but Andrew McCutchen sounds like he'll be a Pittsburgh Pirate by Christmas at the latest.
Yeah. So good news. I think it's what we all anticipated. Now, what's funny is we talked how the signing, maybe they're just holding it up because, I mean, there's a 40-man crunch. We know that, right? So maybe it's just like there's a handshake agreement. Once they figure all that out, they'll make this move happen. And they decide to pretty much announce, well, I shouldn't say announce, but the report came out right after the trade was made to make the roster at 40. So
yeah,
someone's going to have to go to bring on Andrew at this point in time, which makes this kind of funny and ironic. But yeah, I mean, it's good news. It's confirmation of what we expected to happen is absolutely going to happen. And that's Andrew McCutchen will be a Pirate for 2024, which means 2 things, right? It means that He's a Pirate again. That's cool. That's awesome to see. But also, as he probably should be as well, but like the health is probably behind him, you would anticipate. So there's a healthy Andrew McCutchen coming.
Yeah, that's really good. You still anticipate him being primarily a designated hitter, but it would also be pretty cool if he can play once or twice a week in right field. I don't think you can bank on it right now, but it would definitely add some flexibility to this roster if he's able to do it. But yeah, huge news. Andrew McCutchen gonna be back in the black and gold at PNC Park for another year. Let's run it back. Let's get home run number 300. Let's have that moment. Let's get it out of the way early. I mean, I think everybody here knows my feelings on Andrew McCutchen. He's my favorite baseball player of all time. I love the dude. So just being able to watch another year of him in Pittsburgh makes me happy. It would just not feel right if he finished his career any other spot. So kudos to both parties for getting, the easiest possible thing done here. Like I said, not official yet, but it looks like it is pretty imminent. But yeah, you mentioned the 40-man roster crunch. It is at 40 men right now, so someone's got to go. There's quite a few options there too, especially with acquiring another outfielder like Olivares. Like maybe you've got Kanan Smith and Jigba is kind of on the chopping block now, and so that's an option. But yeah, we'll see what they do. This move also will be done by Pirates Fest, so I think we all kind of figured that it would be.
They had to.
You can't go into Pirates Fest and have this big, huge celebration and get all your fans together and like not do anything. So Andrew McCutchen being there at Pirates Fest is a rare PR win for the Pirates.
Yep. Yeah, I guess I don't have too much to add to that. Now, of course, we'll have our emergency podcast when it happens to talk further, I'm sure. Hopefully that's at an ideal time. But yeah, again, this is something that you anticipate to happen. I mean, as far as the fact that Ethan has had Andrew McCutchen on his spreadsheet this entire time up until like a week ago, he finally had him fall off. That's how sure you pretty much knew this happened. And Ethan pretty much nailed the money. He said, he had him up there for $5 million. Sounds like it's going to be $5 million again. So there's that. Now, what I'll say this too is, I mean, we'd have a question here about the CSN on the chopping block. I'm with you. It sounds like you're probably, again, probably looking at the outfield, but that also doesn't mean like a trade's maybe not also imminent. Like that could happen.
Yeah, they could definitely.
I would welcome a trade, hopefully with some starting pitchers coming back. But maybe they're on the verge. Also, again, like the timing, maybe they're on a verge of a trade. I'm just trying to be optimistic in this.
Yeah, I'd say if there's a trade, like the one spot that you have to trade from is like that second base spot. I mean, you've got realistically, you've got Triolo, Peguero, Gonzalez, Bay, Chang, who are all really, they're just second baseman. Triolo, obviously, utility, he can play everywhere, but you've got a lot of guys there who kind of can all do the same thing. Right. I mean, obviously different skill sets, but like how many of these guys do you really need, right?
It's not like you're removing one off to play out.
Yeah, so I could see maybe a trade happening with one of those guys because there's a bunch of them and you really don't need Triolo, Peguero, Gonzalez, Chang, and Bay.
Right. I'm with you. Something tells me that they're not shopping Peguero.
Bro, Lico Williams in there too. You don't really need him either.
I just want to say that something tells me they're not really shopping Peguero with all like the marketing they've done around. Like I feel like he's been like the only player highlighted this offseason. Like every week the Pirates have something out with Leo over Peguero.
Yeah, they are hyping Peguero up quite a bit. That's for sure.
Yeah. So probably not him. At any rate, though, Kutch being back. We're starting to get some news, right? We're starting to make some moves. And again, big picture, not a big fan of them individually. They're fine. But with Kutch coming back, still a lot of work, still a ton of work. I mean, this rotation is still a mystery. So hopefully things start to form. We can talk much better news, much more positive news, much more direction on this team. But as of right now, it just feels, again, it feels like it's in a worse position today than it was October 1st.
It does. I mean, you look at it and you think you basically since the end of the year, you traded Johan Oviedo and Endy Rodriguez for Marco Gonzalez, Ali Sanchez, and Rowdy Tellez.
Right.
If that trade was done, like if the Pirates made that trade, we wouldn't be very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to refrain from talking more about Neil's comment here. Rostering three DHs at once is a choice. I get that. I'm stopping. I didn't talk more when you kind of brought it up, but like, I'm interested. It's not done yet, but I'm very interested on these moves too, because you knew Kutch was coming back. So again, like with Rowdy, with like what they're doing in these players they've added so far, just seems like this huge, massive roster crunch at like right field, first base, DH, like how they're going to utilize those players. And you're talking about if you added Jock Peterson, that adds like another person to that whole mixture. So it is kind of odd so far, but again, I'm letting it kind of play out. But I'm kind of with Neil also. Like some of these moves don't make sense big picture either to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, and like the Rowdy Tellez signing, I still don't. I wouldn't have gone that route. Like I would have gone someone who like you could really rely on to play first base, and that's not really who he is. Like you'd prefer him at DH if he's hitting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't personally a fan of that signing just because again, it's another what if thing too. Like it's a big what if. Like if he can regain 2022 form and you platoon him with Connor Joe at first base, then for $3 million, hell yeah, right?
Right.
And for $3 million, like if he doesn't do that, then whatever, you cut bait with him. But you would have liked to have seen a more sure thing, especially defensively.
Yep. So, at any rate, does that pretty much wrap up what we want to talk about this morning?
I think so.
Cool. Yeah. So with that said, we'll be back tomorrow. We got a special guest lined up, and we can mention it. It's on our graphic at the end. We didn't really say it too much, but we'll be on with Dan Zaborski talking about Zips. The Zips projections did come out on Friday for the Pirates. So we'll do as we do every year. We'll have Dan on. We'll talk Zips. We'll talk Pirates. We'll talk more about how O'Neal Cruz is a Hall of Fame player. Hopefully still.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. So the Zips projections came out on Thursday or Friday. Always a good talk with Dan, talking his projections and how he kind of how his system gets those, and we'll always have him like switch some things up and like see what happens, and yeah, it'll be a fun show.
Right. So there's that. Then of course we're back with NS9 Live probably sometime this week on Wednesday. Well, on Wednesday. And yeah, you got some more cardboard coming out. I'll tease it. You have a really good cardboard coming out soon.
Yeah, opened up yeah, we've got winter meetings, NS9 cardboard, and then there's 3 others in the queue. We're just waiting for Cody to edit.
So there's that. So
chop Cody. Let's go.
A lot of content last week. We'll have a lot of content this week as well. So we'll see you guys later. Appreciate you all for watching. Bye-bye.
We'll see you next year, guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.